the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL daily. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here are your hosts, Erin Summers and Todd Graffagnini.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. Erin Summers, Todd Graffagnini here, brought to you, as always, by Rouse's Markets. And Todd almost went into the freezer aisle today.
Close. It started out so encouraging, Erin. We walked outside and it was cloudy. It was almost downright pleasant out here today. And then reality set in about an hour in, and the humidity and the sunshine kicked in, and then we all left drenched in sweat. So, yes, it was very close to making a little detour as we headed into the indoor for media availability, taking that little left turn into the Rouse's freezer aisle, but then we saw the offensive lineman getting ready to go in there, and we thought better of it.
Yeah, it might get a little crowded in there. Not as comfy. But today, second day of pads. After the first day on Monday, it did seem like the defense dominated things. Today, I think the offense showed out and had a really good day. I know you were excited coming off the field about just how much action we were seeing on the field. Very
entertaining practice if you were a spectator. The fans who were there were really treated to a show, and that's what you want to see. Mm-hmm. You don't want to see one side dominate the other, and that's kind of the quandary of training camp. The offense had a great day, the defense obviously did not, or vice versa. Today, you saw both sides of the ball make plays, but no question, this was the most entertaining practice of the first 7 that we have seen. Numerous chunk plays offensively, big gains, great throws, nice catches, long runs, and defensively, we saw a couple of pass breakups. We saw some sacks. We saw an interception from Quincy Riley. So it was just a really good day to be out there. I think Kellen Moore has to be really pleased considering it was in pads. I was really impressed also. Jake Haener had his best practice to date. He ran the ones, but a lot of the credit had to go to that number one offensive line, which is just, again, showed their continuity from day one to where we are right now. Haener received a lot of protection, and when the rush did get there, he was able to sidestep it, use a little mobility, and still was very, very accurate. So, yes, you said I was fired up walking off the field, and I really was. I mean, it's, as you know, Erin, because you're out here every day, and you've been out here every day the last 3 years, football practice can get a little tedious at times, especially during training camp when the weather is what it is. But even though we were all drenched, it was a lot of fun to watch. It was a lot of fun to be out there today.
Yeah, it was a fun practice. And they went through the normal start to practice where they did a walkthrough, then they stretched, and then they went through individual drills. And then we saw for the first time the wide receivers and the cornerbacks going at it one-on-one, variety of quarterbacks through to them. There were a couple plays that popped there, some good catches, some good defense. So that's always a fun matchup to watch. And I know people get all excited about the Chris Olave versus Alontae Taylor, but Kool-Aid McKinstry has been showing out consistently. And he said he feels great coming into camp, that he's lost some weight. He was a little heavy last year. He's flying around, and he loves this defensive scheme because it's exactly what they ran at Bama.
You're right about Kool-Aid, and Kellen Moore mentioned as well to the media after practice that he's having a really, really good camp. I don't think there's any doubt, Erin, that he is really solidifying his role as, right cornerback one right now. I mean, he has been the starter since day one, along with Isaac Yiadom on the other side, and Alontae Taylor's been in the slot. And look, you really haven't, stepped back and been like, boy, these DBs are really hurting this defense. That has not been the case at all. McKinstry had an outstanding pass breakup today on Rashid Shaheed during the 2-minute drill at the end of practice. So he continues to be good. You'd like him to maybe get an interception here and there, but pass breakups are just as good, especially those situations. But he has been rock solid, has Kool-Aid, and you make that jump from rookie year where, look, he had injury issues at the beginning of the season last year. He was able to finally get in and get some NFL action. But that jump from year 1 to year 2 has been evident because he's just really been good.
Yeah, he's definitely been fun to watch and somebody that stands out on a daily basis. And talking to a couple people after practice, they noticed, as I couldn't help but notice, the grill that he's wearing. And it is all diamonds, the entire thing. I would be scared to wear that much jewelry.
I guess you're pretty confident in your ability that you're not going to get clocked in the choppers and then have all that jewelry spill out onto the practice field.
Man, it's crazy. But he said he will be flashing that probably multi-million-dollar smile at people.
Keep making plays out there,
exactly.
Kool-Aid. Keep making plays.
You mentioned Quincy Riley having an interception. That's his second one of camp, and he's a rookie, so good to see him coming in as well. Another cornerback that's making some good plays.
Well, like you said, we saw plays on both sides of the ball, and that's what you really want to see. And look, good for that rookie because he's gotten some opportunities to do it. I mean, now you have 3 Louisville Cardinals on the team right now with the signing of offensive lineman Jonathan Mendoza today. So, you got 3 teammates who played at Louisville last year. So that's always good. And by the way, Mendoza is a mountain.
He is so big, so tall.
Of a man, 6'9", 310?
Yeah.
So.
And he didn't look like big. He just was a big dude.
Yeah. 6'9", absolutely. See if we can go across the street in the parking lot. Maybe he's a 3-and-D guy for the Pels.
Well, you go into the offensive side of things and some of the teamwork that they did. They started off with 11 on 11, and there was obviously one play that just popped off, and it was a huge touchdown to Chris Olave.
Yeah, look, I've got, full disclosure here. I've got 3 plays of the day coming up on my observations column. And look, don't forget, right before that long pass from Jake Haener to Chris Olave, Olave put a double move on Alontae Taylor, and he was wide open. And Haener did a good job after the play action, stepped up in the pocket, and delivered a beautiful ball to Olave, who walked in for a 75-yard touchdown. But don't forget, 2 plays prior to that, it was old number 41, Alvin Kamara, getting the handoff, busting it off right tackle, boom, gone. So, again, another one of those chunk plays that we have seen. But, boy, that was great to see Haener delivering the ball on target and really rewarding Olave, who made the move.
Yeah, you said it was Haener's best day, and I would have to agree. He had several really good moments. The timing was just perfect. Even though he was getting blitzed, he had another touchdown, Kevin Austin Jr., and actually McKinstry was the one in coverage there. McKinstry tackled Kevin Austin very hard and was punching, trying to get the ball out, and Kevin Austin,
tough play.
He held on to it till the bitter end, never let go.
But again, what impressed me about Haener today was even when he was rushed, he was able to avoid the rush and still deliver the ball accurately. And that's just going to go a long way. He got a ton of reps today running the first team, and he really made the most of it. This quarterback battle is really starting to heat up a little bit.
Going into Spencer Rattler's reps of the second set of 11 on 11, because they did one session, then they did some 7 on 7 special teams, and came back more 11 on 11. And Rattler had a really nice play to Mason Tipton. Tipton was just right inside the goal line, and he delivered a perfect ball.
No doubt. It's funny because I was walking past you, and the team had flipped sides. They were moving. The offense was moving from east to west this time, and I walked past you and I said, because we already had the big play to Chris Olave, and that was going to be my play of the day, but I just wanted another one, and I told you, I said, I need another big play, and literally right there, 44-yard pass over the top from Rattler to Tipton, who continues to make those big plays, and great throw, delivery, great catch. And again, I talked about it. I mean, if you were a spectator today, how many cheers did we hear from the 1,000+ fans that were out this afternoon? It was just one of those days where it all just popped.
Yeah, you mentioned that AK broke a couple, and he did. He was getting through the second level a couple times.
Going back to, again, how that first team offensive line has just been performing with the continuity. But, I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Once Alvin gets through that initial line of scrimmage seam. It's into the backfield, and how many yards he gets is up to him.
Yeah, and we ended the day on another running back getting a touchdown when Velus Jones Jr. ran into the end zone. It was when they were doing the 2-minute drill work at the end, and it was Spencer Rattler who was leading the drive. And it was maybe a 35-yarder?
35-yard touchdown run. And again, there 27 seconds left on the clock. It's a tie ball game, so you're really looking for a field goal. You're not necessarily going for the touchdown, but I think that was a little sleight of hand by Kellen Moore there. You get that running play, and all of a sudden there was nobody there, and it was a touchdown, and with plenty of time to spare. So, again, 3 huge plays today offensively, and they're all going in the column.
Well, it's nice because I got a chance to catch up with the running back coach in Joel Thomas, and we talked about how some of those runs have been breaking, how Velus Jones changed from wide receiver to running back because of his speed, to add that into the running back room. So we're going to kick it off with Joel Thomas here and get his thoughts on today's practice and the makeup of that running back room. Joel, thanks for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's good to have you back.
Yes.
For you 1 year out with the Giants, and now you're back here with the Saints. What did it mean for you to be able to come back?
Well, first of all, I'm grateful to the entire Saints organization and obviously Kellen's trust in bringing me back here. I call this place home. My family calls it home. You know, my children, they were 2 and 3 when we moved here the first time in 2015, and this is New Orleans is our place, and I'm excited to be back here and get this thing going in the direction that I've been accustomed to in the years past.
So being up there in New York, is it a little bit easier on, just the body day in and day out, being out at training camp than it is here?
Well, obviously the heat's a little different. It can reach down and test you, but something I'm used to it, as far as the heat and the motivation tactics that you use to just keep guys going. So it is what it is. It's training camp.
You played for Idaho. What have you pulled from your days there? Because you have a ton of records there for the school. Well,
I mean, the joy and the journey, as Kellen always preaches about with our team, that's kind of my thought process. Football it's a game. If you don't have that mentality of having that joy, like when you're a child, looking forward to putting the pads on and going out and competing, once you start losing that, then that's a problem. And I've never lost that. And at Idaho, I'd say the coaching staff and the players I was around, they just brought more of that out in me, and it's something I've taken with me wherever I go.
You come in now as an associate head coach, having a little elevated title, not just the running backs coach anymore. You've been a head coach before, you've been an offensive coordinator before, but for that role, what does that do for you? I guess maybe in what your career trajectory is, and what are the responsibilities?
No, it's a role that, like, I think with anybody on the coaching staff that Kellen has trust in them and will bounce ideas and ask for input. I have a little bit more now, and the fact that I've been here before and understand the culture, the lay of the land a little bit better than maybe some guy that's never been here before. I think that's an asset for him. And then there's some familiarity with the players that are on the current roster that were here in 2023 and before that. So it's a job title I don't take lightly. I mean, I'm honored to be here and in that role, and I just got to do things to just keep on adding to this experience for this team to help them get better.
Now that the pads have come on, we're definitely seeing a lot more of the run scheme and what the game's going to look like in that regard. Looks multiple, a lot of guys getting involved. Obviously, it starts with Alvin Kamara, but then after that, it seems like there's a lot of positions up for grabs. What excites you about that process?
Well, I mean, you're finding out players that maybe a guy I haven't been around as much. You find out their personalities, their grit, their toughness, their will. One thing that's always burned in my brain is find out what the player can do. Don't make it a cop-out. Well, he can't do this, so we don't put him in. Like, try to put him in situations that challenge him. And sometimes you find things out that maybe you wouldn't have if you just pigeonhole a guy. In regards to the room, it's a pretty balanced room once you get past Alvin. I like the depth that we have, and every day I feel like one person has done something that you're like, okay, it's flashed. And that's how you create competition, and hopefully this competition will help us pick the right depth when we make the final cuts, and we can make this room as strong as possible.
Seems like Kendre Miller has always been a player that has a lot of potential. We just haven't been able to see it consistently on the field with the injuries. But this year he said he feels better than he ever has. What have you seen different from him from when he was a rookie?
Well, I think he's matured. I had him as a rookie, and obviously the health that you mentioned is something that's been, the elephant in the room. Everybody knows about it. He's been healthy, and he's one of those guys that every day has just flashed a little bit more here and there. And his game started to evolve where the protection schemes are making more sense too. And it's all about preparation to be available and preparation to execute on the field. And I would say he's in an upward trend right now as far as that goes. So I'm excited with the direction that he's going right now.
Velus Jones Jr. broke one for a touchdown today. Yeah. He has been a wide receiver prior, but now here as running back, obviously has the ability there. Why did you guys want to mark him as an RB?
Well, I think the thing that flashes with him, obviously, is he has a speed element to his game that is obviously faster than most of the guys or all the guys in the room if you're looking at documented times. And he's not one of those receivers that come in and they're scared to mix it up in the box. Like he's got some toughness to him, some grit, and it's still I like him as a piece of putty. And I'm trying to form him in the right form and shape that he needs to be to play running back. So it's a work in progress, but like I said, he's one of those guys that there'll be a flash. And today, obviously, we saw it with the long touchdown at the run that was, I don't think in flag football he would have been tackled.
Yeah. When you look at the scheme offensively, obviously you're going to have a ton of designed runs, but how big is the passing game going to be for these running backs?
Anytime, if you have a balanced attack, everybody's going to eat, and I would say the passing game is going to be a big component. Obviously, me selfishly, I'd love to be in this 60-40 realm where we're running the ball a little more, but obviously your game dictates it. But we have to be able to protect in the pass game. When the quarterbacks go down, that makes it tough on everybody, and we have to be see the same protection plans or the same route trees through the same set of eyes as the quarterbacks, receivers, and O-line. And when we're on the same page, today there were some opportunities out there that we took advantage of.
Moore leaned into that running game last year. 57%, I think, of the game was rushes for them. Yeah, obviously it changes with a mobile quarterback and Jalen Hurts. But when you look at the numbers and the carries that Saquon Barkley had, how do you see that correlating to what we might see from Alvin Kamara?
Well, obviously we got to get this thing off the ground and running, and no pun intended there. But I think the execution of the run game, when you look at all that tape from a year ago, obviously too, they're not taking negative yardage runs, and that's where you can start to lose faith in what's going on. If all of a sudden you run a run play on first down or 2nd and 8, and you're losing 2 or losing 4, and then you're like, well, what? I'll throw a little quick pass out there and get the same yardage or more. So we got to get it off of the ground and running on the early downs, and then getting those short yardage situations, 3rd and 2 to 3s, where if they want to play the pass or the short quick game, we can go ahead and rip one or get an RPO or something like that off. So we have to play. I hate to say cliche, but it's complementary football there to get this thing going.
Mm-hmm. How much does having continuity on the offensive line help, and the talent that has been drafted over the last few years there?
It all starts up there, whether it's the run game or the pass game, and fortunately I've been around that whole group through most of their careers, except for Tolly. I went with him last year, but he's a great talent. So I love what we have up front. I love what Coach Nugent's doing up there as far as the development, and my familiarity with him. And we were together here in 2015 anyway, so we're not like two coaches getting to know each other. We know what we're trying to get accomplished.
Ideally for you, how many guys would you like to have in the running back room?
Well, I'd like to keep them all. But, the nature of the business, as you're getting the roster cut downs, it's going to be in that neighborhood of 4 to 5, depending on what's going on with the rest of the roster. And the main deal is to pick the right number, as far as the body that's in that position. And I think they're all good that they won't be on the street long. Somebody does get let go, but I think we got a good little solid room, and we'll see where the rest falls here as the camp goes on.
Yeah, as the evaluation process continues, you said you wanted to look for things that they do well. What are those things that might elevate somebody to a roster spot?
Well, introduction to these backs, when we start talking, the first 2 things are taking care of the ball, and then obviously taking care of the quarterback. Those are the first 2 things foremost. And so when guys don't do that collectively or as an individual in practice, that kind of puts them behind the 8 ball a little bit. Then you're looking at how multiple are they? Like, are they just a runner? Are they a runner and a blocker, or can they do all 3? Well, when you get a guy that can do all 3, then you kind of get some flexibility with what they do on offense, and that kind of elevates their status. And, obviously I have one of the better ones in the league with AK that can do all 3.
Yeah, so you just say do what he does and then you're good.
Sometimes God's taking care of that.
With having Kellen Moore come in here, a lot of the staff is new, but a lot of the players have said that there's been good vibes, it feels refreshed. You've been here before.
Yes.
So what does it feel like for you, somebody that has that experience under different coaches?
It's been, I've been back here, I'm back home, but it does feel different. And personally, from my standpoint, I've got, from afar, I've always watched Kellen, whether it's in college and follow each other's career. Doug, he was my teammate, he was my quarterback, he was my leader my freshman year, and so I kind of learned from him how you lead, knew with each other. Ja, I've known him. Pete Sermon, we worked together at Washington. Terry Joseph, I've known him for years through recruiting and college football. So, from my standpoint, there's a lot of familiar faces walking in the building, so it wasn't like you're feeling each other out for the first 2-3 months, figuring out, well, what's this guy like? There's a lot of continuity already going on there. And then obviously there's guys within the staff that work together on different staffs. I've known Brandon way back when he was in Chicago, starting off there and stuff as well. So really for me, the transition hasn't been difficult. And you got guys that, the biggest thing is, players and coaches alike, you got to check your ego at the door and understand, find the message that the head coach has, follow that message to a T, and you're going to have good continuity.
It was a really good day for the offense today. We got to see a lot of variety in what is going to be run. And it seemed like they won today, kind of went back and forth. First day of pads, defense had the upper hand, which is normal. When you want to see back and forth, you don't want to see one side dominate. But offensively, under Kellen's scheme, what can we look forward to, and what do you like about it?
Well, like I said, this is the first time I've been more of some of the re-game stuff that I haven't really been in the past. The main deal is that we have to have answers. And when I say answers, if it's a look that we can't run into, we have the option to go ahead and get this into the better look or get to the correct pass. And that's where I think Kellen, the brightness that he has with his offense, he has a clear vision as far as what he wants to accomplish. And, I've liked what I've seen so far. And obviously you mentioned the back and forth, and, it was a better day on offense. But there's so much more room to improve. I'm thinking through practice in my mind that we can, I told the runners after the practice day, I go, first, look in the mirror, check yourself before you even look at anybody else's mistakes. Like, make sure you performing at the level and executing at the level that's required to win a football game in this league. So first you got to check yourself to make this whole offense work together with cohesiveness.
All right, well, I appreciate the insight and getting to talk to you a little bit here. I'll let you get to it, and you can kind of go through practice and move forward and get better.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Erin.
Thanks.
All right.
That wraps up today's practice. Another practice in pads. We'll be back at it again on Thursday. Another padded practice. So we'll see how they hold up back-to-back days in pads, especially after the heat that we saw out there today. They were doing their usual rest and recovery time. We're not going to get back into things until 1:30. Kellen Moore was out there on the field throwing the football to his kids in the indoor. He was smart about it. He was staying in the cool AC of the indoor facility, but taking a little rest and recovery for head coach as well. And I know they enjoyed doing bowling, going bowling. They enjoyed going bowling last night. So they're enjoying things right now, and we'll see how crisp practice is tomorrow, second day straight in pads. Stick with us here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, brought to you by Rouse's Markets. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets.